first started talking about reactivations last year, Sarush was the gentleman that we actually had piloted when Sanjeev chatted with us. And he's not only obviously been successful with it, but now he's got his team who's become successful with it. So he's going to share with us a bit of his secret sauce today. And
yeah, I'm a past patient. Let's say you want to do a reactivation. I haven't been in for 7 or 8 months, let's say. I had a knee injury. It was post ACLR.
Serge, what was, just because you've done these a lot, what was the one thing that really jumped out at you that Braden did?
Because you were fixated around the actual goal of me playing soccer, everything kind of was more natural to kind of proceed through to the booking so that you could actually see what's wrong. Like, we don't know what's wrong. Maybe I re-injured it and, I just didn't think about it. Right. But we don't really know 100%. But that was one thing I did really like, that you're very focused on that. Right. It was very goal oriented, just the whole conversation. Right.
You guys can see the whiteboard. Yeah. So if we think about, like, let's look at the behavior in the clinic, right? So let's say in like Sarush's example, it was really about, return to play at competitive soccer level, right? If we look really, and Brady, you've done this well, looking at a lot of your, your completed POCs, most people have improved to some degree, and then they improved with self-management plan, right? The interesting thing, though, is that, as we all know, this is the other thing that happens from here, is we know they're still underdosed to return to that final goal, right? So let's just call it the finish line. So if we're sort of in that level, there actually makes really good sense that a reactivation shouldn't almost be a step that we do when people actually are, we have low assessments, but it tends to be what has triggered us to think about this because of the pandemic. But actually is interesting is like the timeline should be, okay, I'm going to allow Sarush to go and, function on his own. But if this was your patient, you would actually know, okay, what is that competitive soccer level that we're aiming for? Is it actually a men's tournament? Is it actually tryout for a team coming up? This is where I believe that program of care is so important. And with the right goal setting, we actually know what we're going to communicate about and what that conversation is going to be about. So I think this is where, that 80%, if that's what they say they are before they leave, or that 70%, whatever it may be. The one thing that I would always want to know is exactly what you did, Braden. The part that was beautiful that I thought that you did was you brought forward, you've already identified that he had some issues as far as his confidence to return, but then you went, boom, have you done any plyometrics? Have you done any cutting? Have you really been out dribbling the ball yet? Like, what are some of those concerns? Because you're actually now giving him something he can relate to. And he was like, no, I haven't done that yet. Oh, but you're not really confident. So the only sort of piece that I may have sort of hammered into a little bit or sort of honed in on is, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, if that tournament was in a month from now, how confident are you would be able to play your top performance? And he would probably say 5. Okay, what do you think's missing? What can I support you with between now and then to move that to an 8? I think you'd be good to, do you feel you could play at 80%? Yeah, I feel like I could get there. And then now that's actually how I'm going to direct. Okay, have you done this, or this? No. But the one thing too, Braden, that I'd like as well, just to share with you guys, and I know Sarush is going to give you guys a little bit more of this, but it's just your outreach was truly empathetic. Like, it really wasn't like, okay, I've got to get Daryl in the clinic. Once you knew that, or sorry, Sarush in the clinic, but once you knew Sarush was actually in need of your expertise, then you actually, kept the options very simple. Mm-hmm. When are you coming in, right? Tomorrow or the next day? Do you know what I mean? Like, it really wasn't where you were pushy at the beginning. It truly felt like you were just trying to see how he was doing. That's what I really liked about what you did.
Because, the authenticity and the empathy 100% is what actually lands the assessment. It's, the keywords are important to build that up, but that authenticity, if it's not there, if you feel like you're scripted when you're talking, they'll feel it too. So that's a big thing. So you just make it super natural. And if I what I've done lately is I have like words in front of me and I don't even have a full script. I have the words and I just want to remember the words that I want to bring up in a conversation. Right. So, what you did was perfect though. Like, you're checking on me and my goal, but sometimes that might go left or right in any way. So if you have the opportunity to bring up, the kids or the family just to check in, those things just happen naturally. And that's kind of one of the things that I like to do when I'm making those calls too, right? Working with patients that are coming back for the same injury, or they need to continue and get reactivated after a long period, their goals might be a little bit different. I think the difficulty is in the nature of educating the patient about, why this next plan is going to be the crucial piece. Because a lot of times if they're coming in and they don't have that much pain, and I'm sure you guys have faced this too, as soon as patient doesn't have some pain, that's when it gets a little bit tougher when it comes to adherence, because there's that mental thinking that, oh, I'm probably good to go now, right? So we have to do a lot of education. We have to make sure we're really setting up really strong milestones and really making sure everything's underpinning that why and the major goal they're trying to get to, right? So that's the experience I've had with that 10 or 15% of people that get reactivated from that group.
But again, this is, I think, what happens in a lot of our industry is that, we do see these influxes of assessments, and people are more focused on what comes into the practice as opposed to how do people exit the practice. Because that's really, and you guys all know this from Jim Millard too, is how people leave your practice is how you literally grow your following and your practice and your reputation. And that's how people start to know you as a brand, as a provider. Yeah. But the problem is we're so focused on inputs and then we don't have any time for output. And I think that's the biggest disservice that a lot of us have, because we don't ever really know, do I get good patient outcomes or not? But then we ask you to sort of, as owners or leaders, will say, hey, do these. And it's just like a task. But the task is there because we usually don't think about this stuff until something's bad is happening, right? Not enough assessments. We don't have enough this, your PVA is too low. But if we just made this part of the actual patient experience journey, this wouldn't be an extra step anymore. This would just be part of the journey. I think we'll create a reactivations card. We have a fall off and self DCs, but let's create a reactivations card. So this way we can actually put, I really like your script and stuff, and voicemail script, email script, objections. I think that's great. Very, very good. Thanks for sharing all this, buddy. I appreciate it.